All right, so get ready to dive deep into something that might just totally flip your understanding of reality as we know it.
Oh, I love it already.
We're talking about time and space, but not in the way we usually think about them.
Right, like not just measuring things or scheduling appointments.
Exactly. We're going to be looking at some ancient wisdom that suggests they might not be what they seem at all.
This is going to be good.
It is. And our source for this wild ride is the Gita for Joyful Living.
A classic.
Specifically, we're focusing on verse 17 of chapter 2, which introduces this idea of Atman.
Atman. Okay, I'm intrigued.
You should be. This is where things start to get really interesting. Buckle up, because we're about to uncover 10 teachings about the Atman that will make you question everything you thought you knew about reality.
10 teachings. Okay, lay it on me.
Well, first, let's talk about why the Gita for Joyful Living even brings up time and space in the first place.
Yeah, good point. It's not exactly the first thing that comes to mind when you think of ancient wisdom.
Right. But it's super relevant. The Gita for Joyful Living points out that in our day-to-day experience, time and space are like totally inseparable.
That's true. You can't really have one without the other, like two sides of the same cosmic coin, right?
Exactly. But the Gita for Joyful Living says this doesn't actually apply to Atman.
Hold on, back up a sec. Atman, what exactly are we talking about here?
Right, let's define our terms. Atman is often translated as true self or soul, like the essence of who we are. It's what's left when you strip away all the stuff that changes, like our thoughts, feelings, and even our bodies.
Okay, so it's like the unchanging core of our being.
Exactly. So what does this have to do with time and space? Well, the Gita for Joyful Living gives us 10 teachings about the Atman to help us understand.
10 teachings. All right, hit me with number 1.
Okay, so the first teaching is that Atman is indestructible. It has no name or form.
Indestructible. That's a big claim.
Right, and no name or form, so it's like beyond our normal ways of defining things.
It's starting to sound like this Atman is something totally different from anything we experience in our everyday lives.
Exactly. And the second teaching just emphasizes that even more. It says, Atman does not have any boundaries, nor can any object create a boundary for it.
Okay, so no boundaries. We're talking about something limitless here.
Right. It's not confined by physical limits or anything we can see or touch. It's just boundless, like infinitely expansive.
Whoa, this is getting really interesting.
It is, and we're just getting started. Teaching number 3 throws another curveball. It says, Atman is always present at all places, and therefore there cannot be more than one Atman.
Wait a minute, only one Atman and it's everywhere.
Yeah, mind-blowing, right?
Okay.
It's suggesting that at the most fundamental level, we're all connected through this one universal Atman. Like separate selves might be an illusion, you know?
Okay, I'm starting to see how this is all coming together.
Yeah.
So how do we even begin to grasp this idea of one Atman that's both everywhere and nowhere at the same time?
Well, that's where teaching number 4 comes in. And this one's a bit of a brain teaser. It says, real and unreal cannot exist together, just as light and darkness cannot exist together. However, real and illusion can exist together, just as dry sand and mirage water can exist at the same place at the same time.
Okay, I'm going to need a minute to unpack that one. Real and unreal can exist together, but real and illusion can. What does that even mean?
It's saying that what we perceive as reality, the world we see and experience, might actually be layered with illusions, kind of like a mirage, you know? Our senses can trick us. There's a deeper, truer reality, but we often mistake the illusions for the real deal.
I see, like the mirage looks like water, but when you get there, there's nothing but dry sand.
Exactly.
Now, how do we know what's real and what's just an illusion?
That's a great question, and it leads us right into teaching number 5, which says, we can perceive only that which has name and form. Name and forms are illusions, and the underlying reality is the Atman. We are the observer.
So our perceptions are limited by our need to label and categorize things. We give everything a name and a form, but those are just mental constructs, not the true reality.
Exactly. We're constantly trying to fit everything into neat little boxes, but this teaching suggests that those boxes are just illusions, not the ultimate truth.
It's like we're playing this cosmic game of naming and categorizing, but the real game is happening behind the scenes, beyond the reach of our labels and categories.
Right. And this is where the idea of Atman as the observer comes in. It's the part of us that can see beyond the illusions, the part that's not bound by those mental constructs.
Okay, so we've got this Atman, this indestructible, boundless, omnipresent observer that's beyond our normal categories of perception. What's next?
Teaching number 6 brings in the idea of change, something we all experience constantly. It says, Atman is changeless, but the universe undergoes continuous change. The universe is manifested, sustained, and resolved cyclically.
So amidst all this chaos and change, the Atman remains constant and unchanging, kind of like the eye of the storm.
Yes, it's suggesting that the Atman is eternal, existing outside of the cycles of creation and destruction that govern the physical universe.
That's a comforting thought in a world that often feels so impermanent and unpredictable.
I know, right? It makes you feel a bit more grounded. All right, ready for teaching number 7?
Hit me with it.
Okay, this one really highlights a key difference between the Atman and everything else in the physical world. It says, all physical things are limited by time and space. If your body is here and now, it cannot be elsewhere at the same time. Atman has no such limitations since it is present everywhere all the time.
This is where things really start to click. We're talking about something that transcends the limitations of time and space.
Yes, while our bodies and everything we see around us is bound by specific locations in space and moments in time, the Atman isn't. It's like it's playing by a whole different set of rules.
No wonder we have trouble wrapping our minds around it. It challenges our most basic assumptions about how reality works.
Totally. And teaching number 8 drives that point home even further. It says, all physical things are limited by form and shape. A horse is different from a dog. Atman has no such limitations since it is the one that sustains all objects.
So the Atman isn't defined by any particular form or shape. It's the underlying essence that sustains all the diverse forms we see in the world.
Exactly. It's like the common thread that connects everything, despite their apparent differences. It suggests a fundamental unity beneath the surface appearance of separation.
This is really making me rethink my whole understanding of the world and my place in it. What does teaching number 9 have to say?
Okay, this one gets to the core of the Atman's role in all of this. It says, Atman is the causeless cause. The entire universe rests on Atman, and it is independent.
Wow. So we're talking about the ultimate source, the foundation of everything.
Yes, it's the self-sustaining, independent ground of all existence, the source from which everything else flows.
This is seriously mind-blowing stuff. Okay, what's the final teaching, number 10?
It brings us full circle, back to our initial exploration of time and space. It simply states, Atman is beyond time and space.
So all these teachings ultimately point us towards this understanding of the Atman as eternal and infinite.
Exactly. Eternal, meaning beyond time, and infinite, meaning beyond space. It challenges our usual way of thinking, where time and space are like the fundamental building blocks of reality.
It's like we've been staring at a tiny dot our whole lives, and now we're starting to see the vast canvas it's a part of.
It's definitely a big shift in perspective.
For sure. And the Gita for Joyful Living even gives us this really cool analogy to help illustrate this point. It says, just as light can be seen only as a reflection on some object and not directly, Atman can be experienced only with a name and form.
So what we perceive as reality, with all its names and forms, might just be a reflection of something much deeper, a reflection of this Atman which is beyond our grasp.
It really makes you wonder how much of what we experience is actually real and how much is just an illusion created by our limited perception.
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's something we'll continue to explore in our next deep dive as we delve into the limitations of our perceptions.
Because if even our perception of something as fundamental as time and space can be an illusion, then what else might we be misinterpreting?
That's what we'll find out next time. Stay tuned.
Can't wait!